Hello, this is Dr. C, and today we're covering Chapter 9 in the Biology 1 textbook, The Frog Life Cycle. We're going to talk about different kinds of frogs, some really big ones and some really tiny ones. Look at the life cycle of the frog and then look at it in more detail, with stage 1 being the egg, stage 2 the tadpole, stage 3 the transformation from tadpole to frog, and then stage 4 being the adult frog. Now there's some very small frogs, and this is the world's smallest. Microhyla nepenthicola was discovered in the jungles of Borneo on the island of Malaysia. You can see how small it is. There's the frog sitting on the tip of a pencil and the frog sitting on the edge of a coin. So you can understand why it was newly discovered. It's so small that it could really hide away. The largest frog is called the Goliath frog. It can stretch out to over 2.5 feet. Lives in Africa and Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea. Eats insects, fish, other amphibians, and can jump a distance of 10 feet at a time. It would probably be a winner in the Calaveras County frog jumping contest that they have every summer, every May actually. Calaveras County is a county in the gold mining area of California. The frog jumping story was started by a story by Mark Twain in around 1895, I believe, and kind of spread. And they actually started the frog jumping contest in the late 1920s. And it's an annual event now. It gets a lot of turnout. And somebody ought to bring the Goliath frog and see how it would do. A lot of different colors of frogs. The red-eyed tree frog over in the upper left-hand corner. Down from that is the blue dart frog. Notice how brightly colored it is. And then the yellow-banded poison arrow frog, named in part because the material that you can get from the skin can be used for poison arrows. Quite often the very brightly colored frogs tend to be rather poisonous. And then we have the Vietnamese mossy frog down on the lower right. You notice that this frog could blend in very nicely to the environment around it and be hard for other creatures to find and eat. The poison frogs are brightly colored, and they just let everybody know you do not want to eat us. Frogs appear prominently in stories. The fairy tale The Princess and the Frog. The beautiful princess finds a frog, and the frog says, I was changed from a handsome prince into a frog because of some evil person that did this to me, and if you kiss me I'll turn back into a handsome prince. And she does, and he does, and they, according to the story, live happily ever after. And then the Sesame Street Kermit the Frog, everybody knows. Frogs appear in folk songs. One of my favorite guitar playing folk singers is an 80-year-old gentleman by the name of Doc Watson. Grew up in the mountains of North Carolina, and he has a version of the old folk song Froggy Went A-Courtin', and he courts a mouse, Miss Mousie, and they get married and live happily ever after. Here's the life cycle of a frog. We'll start with the eggs being laid in the water by the adult frog and go around the cycle. We'll take a quick look at stage 1 is the egg, and there's some pictures of the frog eggs. They're laid in a pond or a stream by the female. They need to stay wet, so they're laid in water. Then the male comes by and fertilizes them. So these eggs are fertilized after the fact. There's no shell on the eggs. There's a thick, soft material. The diagram indicates it's kind of a jelly-like coating on the outside of the frog egg, and then the yolk of the egg is on the inside where the frog will actually develop. The covering of the egg is sticky, So the eggs clump together, so they will be a large batch of frog eggs. And the stickiness in the eggs allows them to stick to stems or leaves so they don't float down the river or the stream and get beat up and battered, but they can stay in place. Now here's a picture of some frog eggs. They're in sort of a marshy area. You've got the leaves that they're stuck to, and you've got the water around them so they don't dry out. Stage 2 is the tadpole. The tadpole has a tail. That's about it. It's got gills so that it can breathe underwater, but it has no jaws, no lungs, or no eyelids, so it can't see where it's going, and it doesn't have a mouth to take in food. Stage 3 is the tadpole to the frog. Begins by developing hind legs that start off as buds, and they gradually develop into legs. There's a picture of the back legs developing on a tadpole. This process of change is called metamorphosis, and it comes from a Greek word meaning transformation. And the frog does undergo transformation from the tadpole to the frog. The tadpole looks very, very different from the frog. The back legs develop slowly, and the back legs will develop first. The front legs come out from under the skin, and they develop later. And here's a tadpole. It's got both the front and the back legs, but you see it's still got the tadpole's tail. It hasn't converted into an adult frog yet. Gradually loses the tail. At the same time, the gills disappear because the frog is going to be living up on land. It's an amphibious creature. It can live in water or on land. And so the gills disappear, lungs develop so that the frog can breathe air out of the water. Here's the adult frog. The front legs and hind legs, obviously, and the eye. It has an ear. It has a tympanic membrane, and you can see it on the bottom picture of the live frog. You can see it, the little dark circle right behind the eyes and right above the green strip there. And that's how the frog hears. So we've talked about laying of eggs and the importance of the eggs and how they're covered and how they're stored. We've talked about the tadpole stage, where the tadpole has a tail. It has gills so that it can breathe underwater, but it has no jaws. It can't see where it's going, and it can't breathe. It doesn't have lungs yet. And then we've discussed the process of metamorphosis, where the tadpole develops into a frog. The back legs grow out, followed by the front legs. It begins to lose the tail, and then it becomes the adult frog. So that's our conversation for the day. Science is fun. Yes, it is. And we will talk to you all later.